welcome to today's show. In today's show, as usual, we have got Mr. Kelvin Motsi. Mr. Kelvin Motsi is the CEO or the MD of Boas Logistics and Distribution. Mr. Kelvin Motsi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a very interesting show to be on and to keep in touch with, as it gives a lot of entrepreneurs opportunity to talk and discuss about business. So thank you very much for having me on your show.
You are a practical business person. You have been involved in business for quite a long time. May you briefly tell us, how did you start to run your business?
That's a very interesting question, because I've always had a desire to want to run a business, but I was fortunate to be involved in other people's businesses before starting my own. So I was formerly employed with some very big corporates locally and abroad that were involved in transport and logistics, which gave me a very good background to then engage and start my own business in the sort of same line of work.
Mr. Motsi, an interesting background you have given us there. Now I would want you to tell us briefly about your company, the products that you have and the clients that you serve.
Well, we are very strong in logistics, which is a very broad term. A lot of people use the word. But what we do is we offer solutions to small end users and big end users. Our principle is to try and get a solution that ensures that small businesses can also tap into the big industries and grow the numbers when it comes to distribution and logistics. Our clients are wide and far. We're dealing with people locally in Zimbabwe. Regionally, we're dealing with Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, and Congo, which is a very interesting market. Maybe later on we can talk more on Congo. Outside Africa, we're dealing with a lot of people in Europe, we're dealing with people in America, and even your Middle East, because there's a lot of need for products from outside the country into Zim. And also right now, if you look, our export industry is slowly also growing. With an opportunity right now to also get products out of Zimbabwe into the market. So this is what we really do. Locally, our clientele is mainly corporate. So we're corporate. We're also involved in the fuel and lubricants business, which is where we probably have our biggest sort of clientele is in that industry.
Mr. Motsi, we are very happy with what you have given us so far. My next question would be requiring you to talk to other entrepreneurs. They always have got a very burning question to do with initial seed capital. How did you overcome the issue of initial seed capital?
Seed capital is a big and burning issue with any entrepreneur. One is because most banks and most formal structures struggle to put money into what they call greenfields. So if you're starting a new project or you're a person without some sort of backing or numbers to your business, you're pretty much a greenfield, which is not a very attractive position for most of them, because you actually can't guarantee payment back. So key thing is you have to start where you are. You have to start small. You have to have a plan that actually works. A lot of people overlook the small things that you can start with. Technology right now is a very good advantage where a lot of things are free. So if you've got a smartphone, on your phone you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got YouTube. All those platforms can assist you launch your business without having to spend a big budget on advertising and marketing and having departments that you can't afford. And then the key thing is to be able to convince family and friends. If you can convince your family and friends to invest in you, you'll get a strong start point to get anybody else to invest in you. So you need to talk to your friends and family. I think the other time there was a situation, people talk about your network being your net worth. That's where your real seed capital is. Don't have 20 friends that just talk to you about drinking and other things that don't build you. Rather have 3 friends or 5 friends that are interested in building you and building your business. So it's not always a conventional way that you have to use to get seed capital. You have to start small, start where you are, and be confident that the product that you have is going to sell. So there's no formula for getting capital, but you have to start with what you have and start where you are.
Viewers, we've come to the end of our first segment of today's show. Please stay with us. When we come back, Mr. Motsi is going to talk to us about the burning issue to do with coronavirus. But not only that, he's also going to talk to us about the burning issue that so many businesses face, the issue to do with cash flows and working capital. Viewers, welcome back to the second segment of today's show. In today's show, we've got Mr. Motsi, who is the MD for Boas Logistics and Distribution. Mr. Motsi, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back and enjoying having a chat with something that I'm very passionate about and that I enjoy talking about. I mean, business is something that you can talk about all day.
Mr. Motsi, in the first segment, you have told us how and what is involved when one is starting and running his business. Now, the business has been formed. We now come to the first challenge that so many people would face, the issue to do with cash flow management. How does one overcome the challenge to do with cash flow management?
Cash flow management requires you to be quite strict. It also requires you, if you can, to get a formal or someone with some strong accounting background. It can be temporary, it can be someone who you give your numbers every week. Depending on your volumes, it might be weekly, it might be once a month. But I would actually urge any entrepreneurs out there that if your own financial understanding or accounting background is not strong, it is prudent that you have a third party outside the business that looks over your numbers. The second thing is you have to understand that revenue is not profit. That is like 101 cash flow. Do not assume that all the money that's come back into the company after your sales can be diverted into any other business or growing things. You need to be clear on what your margins are, what your profit is, where you're spending it, what you're reinvesting into the business, and also ensure that you're up to date with any legislative payments, which is why, again, that professional who can do your books comes in. If it's a smaller business, yes, you can sort of run those, but always have someone that you can run your numbers by. You need to have your statements printed, you need to follow your bank, you just really need to have systems in place. You cannot have money coming in and going out that is not recorded and that has got no systems. So systems are very important. I know people sometimes think, it's just a little bit of money. A little bit becomes a lot. And if you can't manage a little bit, you can't manage a lot. So it's very important that you do work with a professional, or one of the better things is take some time to actually learn yourself. Do a course in accounting, do a course in numbers. You have to be strong on your numbers. If your numbers are out, you're out. Because that is the crux of the matter. We're all in business to make money. You can't make money if your numbers are out.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Motsi. You have addressed the issue to do with cash flow, which we all understand is the lifeblood of every business. But one has already started his business. Along the way, obviously, a number of businesses face the challenge to do with working capital. How does one address the issue to do with working capital? Where and how do you go about availing working capital to the business?
First thing is, I don't encourage entrepreneurs to try and get working capital as loans. When you get a loan, you tie yourself down, you spend more time focusing on repaying your loan than growing your business. So loans are not always an advisable thing for entrepreneur. If anything, loans actually stunt growth of most entrepreneurs. So your product and your ideas have to grow. This is the first place you're going to get working capital. Most businesses are a volumes game. The more you sell, the more you make. The more you interact, the more your space grows. So it's very important that you focus on growth, because growth will take care of most of your capital growth or capital needs. That failing is you now have to look at where can you cut. Where can you cut on your overhead to be able to have a little bit more to spend in growing your business. That failing, an investor is a better off option for me. Go out there, find an investor. But in finding an investor, I also say not everyone is an investor. Don't sell your idea to everybody. You need to be specific about the kind of investor that you want. So research will help you. If I'm in transport and logistics like myself, I should be looking for an investor who understands transport and logistics. Because when I sell my product or sell my idea to him, he can see the value in it. It's not going to make sense to a farmer. I have no business trying to sell my idea to a farmer. Because if he's coming in, that relationship will be very short-lived. Because his expectation from the business is not what's going to come out. So you need to be very clear as well on who you want to bring in as an investor in your business. Investors are a very good sure way of raising capital. But you have to research on the type of investor that you require. You have to research on which institutions or persons are in the line of business to invest in your business. I mean, someone in construction won't understand what I do. And it will be very hard to convince him to actually invest. Or he won't invest at the size of investment that I want. I was watching a clip somebody spoke about. It's like getting an investor like when you are out at a party or having drinks. You can't talk to every girl. Because the girls that are watching you talking to that are the girls. By the time you get to them, you're saying, but you wanted her, you wanted her, you wanted her. So you want everything or you want anyone. So you have to be specific about which girl do you want. And you have to structure your way and approach for the specific girl. You can't go for all 20 and hope that one comes through. So just be specific. But investors are a good way of raising capital.
Mr. Motsi, this show would not be fair if you are not going to talk about the signs of the times. The scourge, coronavirus, it really has wreaked havoc to companies, economies, and trade and commerce in general. What's your view?
Coronavirus, it's on everybody's lips. It's like the biggest problem right now. Now, if you look at our business, I'll start you have to start with what you know. Is the effects are huge. We deal with transporters. So we got road, we got air, and we got sea. Now with all the number of ports that have been closed, I'm sure you've heard South Africa has closed most of their shipping ports. Fortunately, Beitbridge border post hasn't been closed because of its importance and being one of the biggest dry ports in the southern region. So we are fortunate that we can still use Beitbridge border post. But the speed at which the traffic moves now, the border needs extra checks, the drivers need to be checked, the cargo needs to be checked on exactly what is moving. And then some of the byproducts or the ingredients coming from outside Africa have also slowed down. People are working from home, people are not showing up for work, people are scared, and that all boils down to what arrives in terms of product, your distribution line to get product out, the buying patterns of the actual consumer. You go to supermarkets now, they're not as busy as they were. People are panic buying. So there's a big impact. And then it comes to actual currency levels in trading. What are the stocks doing? Who's on the road? Who's flying? The airlines, the airports. If the airlines are picking up 5 tons, where they're picking up 20, someone has to pay for that deficit. And unfortunately, it's the business people and the consumer. It's not the airline. It's not the tracker. Their rates are quite set. So, yeah, Corona is affecting business. Obviously, what's important is that we try and stop it affecting people, because obviously lives are more important than anything else. You know, I'd rather save a life than save a product. So yes, it has affected us in a big way. We have partners all over the world, and Zimbabwe a little bit fortunate right now, but everybody else is being knocked harder than us, and we are feeling it.
Viewers, we have come to the end of second segment of today's show. When we come back, Mr. Motsi is going to tell us a bit more in terms of who is an entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges that they have come across and how he has overcome those. So stay tuned for our third and final segment of today's show. Viewers, welcome to the third and final segment of today's show, where we are talking to our guest, Mr. Motsi, who is the MD for Boas Logistics and Distribution Company. Mr. Motsi, welcome back to the show.
Lovely to be back, and totally enjoying having a chat and just sharing some information on business and general life and where we're going with things.
Now, Mr. Motsi, in the last segment, we discussed about coronavirus, its impact on business, economy in general, and trade and commerce. Now, I would want you to help me with a very burning question for so many people. Are entrepreneurs born? Can one train to be an entrepreneur?
Yes. Because being an entrepreneur is a choice that one has to take. So one can be trained, but the born part is also very important. You need to have that capacity and propensity in yourself to take risk. If you're not a natural risk taker, you will struggle being an entrepreneur. Because the moment you choose to be an entrepreneur, you're throwing all caution in the wind. Because you are going into uncharted waters, where you're trying to convince customers, yourself, business world, that you have a solution for a problem. That's what, to me, an entrepreneur is that person who's bringing a solution to a problem. And it's a person who is hungry enough to ensure that they carry that solution through. So training does come in the aspect of how do you strengthen your mind, how do you stay sharp, how do you identify opportunity, how do you identify the correct solution, and how do you stay on course. That can be trained to you, and that is what will supplement your natural talent or hunger to want to do things differently and to want to solve someone's problem. If whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur is not solving a problem, that is going to really have a negative impact on whatever it is that you're trying to do. Whilst we're there, I also have a controversial aspect of looking at entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very glorified in Zim, in Africa, even globally.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a glorified excuse of when someone is not happy with their job and they want to go and do something new, they call themselves an entrepreneur. But if what you're doing is not solving a problem that is a new problem, and you're getting into a circle where it was being done already, the question then comes, are you an entrepreneur? Because if I leave a job of making bread at a big bakery and start making bread and scones to supply a school or a crèche, am I really an entrepreneur? Or have I just created a job for myself and I'm now self-employed? I think there's a very big difference between self-employed and entrepreneur. So people need to also just think around that. Am I self-employed? As in, am I keeping myself busy and make enough money to sustain myself? Or am I in a space that's going to grow, employ others, and create a long-lasting solution and or service? that, not just walk into and do. So yeah, we can talk about this for a very long time.
Right, Mr. Motsi, my next question would then be, every entrepreneur, every business person has lost money at one time or the other.
Have I lost money? How many times? I think you should ask me the question and say, how many times have you lost money? Yes, I have lost money. I've lost money a lot of times. And what I took from those times was actually lessons. That is what helped me improve and understand that I need someone who's strong on numbers. This is where I understood as well that you need to be able to control your expenditure. There's a lot of things that you need to do. But yes, I've lost money. I haven't lost money on ideas that I thought were worth following in business. And one of the reasons that you lose money when you're an entrepreneur is the passion. When you start something and this thing is yours, to then leave it is knowing quickly when to leave something or when to keep at it. But that drive sometimes of saying this is my thing and what do people think, and everyone recognizes me as this person, can be a very big flaw. You need to actually sometimes know when to draw the line in the sand and realize that this business or this business idea might either not be ready. Shelve it. Don't cancel it. Put it on the side. Find something else to do and keep you going, and then come back to it. Otherwise, yes, you will lose money. But don't be scared to lose money. They have a term for it. We call it school fees. You have to pay your fees. You have to pay your school fees. And losing money is the school fees for being an entrepreneur.
Mr. Motsi, we've talked about losing money, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and business people have lost money.
Lots.
My next question then to you would be, what are some of the challenges that entrepreneurs face in general? And we're talking of young entrepreneurs, grown-up entrepreneurs, and even seasoned entrepreneurs. What are some of the challenges that they face?
There's a lot of challenges that entrepreneurs face, and this is across the board. Forget your age. I think the first challenge every entrepreneur faces is getting off your bum and to start going. Because ideas are always there in your head. First challenge is to take those ideas from being ideas into being something tangible, something that's actually practical and that is happening. And then comes the big challenge of family, friends, perceptions. As humans, we all like to stay in a particular comfort zone. And getting out of that comfort zone to start doing what you have to do, and convincing your spouse, your family, and everyone that, guys, I'm stopping X to do Y, or this is who I now am, is a very big challenge. And I think once you get past those things, that support network becomes a very important part of who you are. Because those people are your bouncing board. Some people always talk about get a mentor, because that bouncing board is what helps you not stress as much. It helps you run ideas, it helps you clean up things, it helps you come out with that solution. I keep talking about offering this solution. Financing the business, we spoke about it earlier, is a very big challenge. And one that you can overcome by having the structures and doing things correctly, getting the right investors, starting small, discipline, just basic discipline on what you want to do as a business. There's no hurry in having big cars and having big, billboards and ABCD if you're not ready for it. You need to understand where are you and what you need to do. So that mental and physical challenge of who am I has an individual, because your individuality plays a very strong part in your business. That's where the drive is. So understanding who you are is also a very big challenge. And then keeping consistent with your services. Don't overcomplicate your business and your services. Most people start getting this challenge now of I want to do this, I want to do that. When you're in one sort of business, you need to stream your business, focus on your strengths, understand your weaknesses, and get on with it. So that challenge of also just seeing exactly where you are, who you are, is going to be there. How do you overcome it? How do you overcome these challenges comes back to that individuality. Your time alone, your clear thoughts, your reading. You have to read. Entrepreneurs have to read. You have to read, you have to know what's happening around you. You need to keep on your toes.
Mr. Motsi, thank you very much for being with me. Now, this show would not be fair if I'm not going to afford you an opportunity to talk to other entrepreneurs. I would want you to briefly give us advice, motivation, any words that you would want to put out to other entrepreneurs who may be watching this show.
Anyone out there that's watching obviously has got a keen interest on either business, entrepreneurship, growth of where they are, because you might be employed somewhere right now, but you are feeling stagnant. Everybody needs that growth because that's what also strengthens their confidence, A, B, C, D. So I always like to say to guys that we talk to in the universities, even with my own staff, stay hungry. You have to stay hungry. One of the people that was a mentor to me used to always joke and say, a hungry dog hunts best. So you have to be that hungry dog that wants to be in the front of the race. You want to catch the rabbit first. You want to have a bigger bite of that rabbit before the other dogs catch up. Or you can take it away, then take the whole rabbit. But for you to do that, you have to stay hungry. So you can hunt best. How do you hunt best? If you're an entrepreneur, my advice to you is you need to get 3 things. My 3 favorite things. A decent pen, a very decent pen that you can bring out and show off when I get a decent pen. You need a notebook, because you always need to take notes. You might be driving, you might be on a bus, you might be wherever. Take notes, write things down. When I'm on the highway, I mentally count the number of trucks I meet between point A and point B. I mentally take note of who the companies are. What are they doing different than I'm doing? And then you need to have a calculator. That's number 3. Because whatever you want to do ends up with a number. And you want to make money. Your calculator. You need to know, you need to work out. If I was doing a delivery between 100 and Chinwe tomorrow, what's my cost? What's my margin? What's my profit? Eventualities, tolls, A, B, C, D, it comes down to a number. Get a pen, get a notebook, and get a calculator. Those 3 things must be standard in your little bag, in your pack, in your car. An entrepreneur needs to have those 3 things. Those tools are the cheapest tools to have, but the most important tools to have. So you need to get those things. Stay motivated. I mentioned reading earlier on. You need to read a lot. You need to stay motivated. You need to get out and network. See what others are doing. Play golf. Do something. Find a sport. Keep healthy. Keep your mind sharp. You cannot be an entrepreneur and close yourself up because the world keeps moving. So you always need to get out there. You need to be in people's faces. People need to see you. People need to know you. So network, 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 network. And don't forget to carry your 3 things when you're networking. That is very short, very simple, and very plain advice. And entrepreneurs are not afraid of risk. If you have an idea, take the risk. Take the risk now, because someone else will.
Viewers, we've come to the end of our 3rd segment of today's show, where we were talking to Mr. Kelvin Motsi. Mr. Kelvin Motsi is the MD for Boas Logistics and Distribution. Unfortunately, as things were getting exciting, we have come to the end of today's show. May you always remember to subscribe and watch out for our next show. Thank you very much.